What do Atlanta, Los Angeles, and New York have in common? They all have a Koreatown. In fact, they have the three largest Koreatowns by population in the entire United States. In today's video, I'm going to compare these three great Koreatowns, and you can decide which one you think is the best in the country. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes, your hopefully soon-to-be favorite realtor here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I work with families and young professionals moving here from all over the country. My job is to help you navigate the real estate market and find a great home for you. So if you're in a similar situation, I would love for you to reach out to me if you're moving to the area or even just considering moving to Atlanta and have questions about the market. Now, obviously, I live in the Atlanta area and I think the Koreatown here is great. In an upcoming video, I'll share some of my favorite things about Atlanta's Koreatown. But for this video, we'll talk about how Atlanta's Koreatown compares to Los Angeles and New York. So let's get started. First, let's talk about some similarities. We'll start with the obvious, lots of Korean businesses and restaurants. In all three Koreatowns, you'll find enough Korean barbecue, coffee shops, and other restaurants that it will take you days to try them all. There are also plenty of karaoke bars, each has an H Mart, and there are also a plethora of other Korean-owned businesses in each Koreatown. Now let's talk about some differences. One of them is feel and size. Atlanta's Koreatown is in the suburbs, and the Koreatown here is divided into three distinct areas, and you need a car to travel between them. As is the case in most suburbs, a car is also helpful to get to Koreatown from the residential neighborhoods in the area, as most are not in walking distance. It feels very suburban, and in Atlanta, the residential population surrounding Koreatown is very diverse. But there are also some predominantly Asian subdivisions. Los Angeles' Koreatown is 3 square miles and runs along Wilshire Boulevard near downtown Los Angeles and has a bit more urban vibe. Interestingly, there are tons of Korean businesses in Koreatown, but over 50% of the residents in Koreatown are not Korean or even Asian. The majority of the residents are Hispanic, with only about a third being Asian. Most of LA's Korean population lives outside of Koreatown. In New York, the heart of Koreatown is in Manhattan, covering about 2 blocks on 32nd Street near the Empire State Building. This area has a very dense commercial urban feel. It feels like much of the other commercial districts in Manhattan, but with a distinctly Korean vibe. New York's Koreatown is the smallest of the three geographically, but it is definitely the tallest. In true NYC fashion, Koreatown here built up rather than out. Don't just look at the shops and restaurants on the street level when you are visiting Koreatown. Some of the area's most hidden gems are located several floors up. Like LA, most of New York City's Korean population does not live in Koreatown, but lives in various boroughs across the city. In LA's Koreatown, one of the unique things you'll notice is the fusion that has happened with Asian and Latino cultures, particularly in regards to food. You'll find great restaurants with wonderful Korean Latino fusion menus. There are also some nice historic touches here, such as a marker sharing some of the history of Koreatown in Los Angeles and commemorating the first official Koreatown sign. Koreatown in LA also has one of the largest concentration of 24-hour nightclubs, karaoke bars, and businesses in the entire country. It is the Koreatown that never sleeps. The palm trees dotting LA's Koreatown and the sunshine and beautiful weather the area is known for give this Koreatown a touch of California magic. Unfortunately, homelessness, while not rampant, has had an impact on Koreatown in LA. And you may notice local pocket parks that have been locked to prevent people from sleeping in them, and you may notice tents or other belongings on some of the sidewalks. There is a huge variety of Korean-owned and Korean-speaking businesses and services in LA's Koreatown. If you speak Korean, it would be very possible to visit and never speak a word of English. This is helpful for many elderly Korean residents who either don't speak English or don't speak it as well as they are able to shop, dine out, bank, visit the dentist, and do all the other parts of normal life without having to rely on a friend or relative to translate for them. Of course, if you don't speak Korean, you will find that even though you may not be able to read all the business signage, you won't know what every business offers, you can still have a wonderful time browsing the mini malls, the shopping plazas, as well as enjoying your favorite Korean restaurants and karaoke bars. One of the great things about LA's Koreatown is its walkability. You can park your car and walk to almost wherever you want to go to in Koreatown. And this makes it a hybrid of the Koreatowns in New York and Atlanta in a way. It has the suburban sprawl of the Atlanta's very suburban Koreatown, but the walkability of New York's very urban Koreatown. So let's talk New York for a second. New York has one of the largest Korean populations in the country. The heart of Koreatown is comparatively small, only 2 city blocks in the heart of Manhattan. As with the rest of Manhattan, Koreatown is dominated by buildings rising several stories above the street. And the energy and feel is distinctly New York with a Korean twist. You have the same urban sidewalks with intermittent scaffolding hovering over them, and the same tall buildings full of windows that you'll see elsewhere in Manhattan, but all of a sudden, the signs change from primary English to a mix of English and Korean. The delis and bodegas New York is famous for give way to Korean barbecue, coffee shops, Korean banks, Korean shops, and karaoke bars. Koreatown is primarily a commercial district, and only about 20% of the Korean population in New York lives in Manhattan. Most Koreans live outside of Manhattan, with the majority of Korean population living in Queens. In fact, I was in Queens last year, and I could definitely see the large Asian presence there. It kind of felt like a mini Seoul. There is a large variety of businesses here, but because it is primarily commercial and not residential, it is more of a destination than a place to go about the business of daily life. Also, because it is NYC, there is a mix of tourists and locals, especially in the well-known restaurants and shops like Goryeo Books and the Kunjip Korean barbecue. So for Atlanta, Atlanta's Koreatown is in the heart of suburbia, and its hub is in Duluth, located in Gwinnett County. The vibe here is much different than that of New York City. Atlanta's Koreatown feels very suburban, with not a single high-rise in sight. Like LA, there is a vast array of businesses that provide the services necessary for daily living, and it is quite possible to speak only Korean and go to the doctor, do your grocery shopping, and have your car repaired, and more. The Atlanta suburbs aren't particularly walkable, so you will need a car to drive from shopping plaza to shopping plaza and from your home to the commercial areas. Unlike LA, homelessness is not a very visible problem in Atlanta's Koreatown. Koreatown in Atlanta generally feels very safe thanks to its suburban location. If you've ever been to Orange County in LA, that probably closely resembles that of what we find here in Atlanta. So these are the 3 Koreatowns that have sprung up around the 3 largest groups of Koreans and Korean Americans in the United States. They are very similar in terms of the types of restaurants, shops, and other businesses that you will find, yet they each have their own unique feel and vibe thanks to the very different geographic locations in the United States, as well as one being in the heart of Manhattan, one being just down the street from downtown Los Angeles, and the other being in the suburbs of Atlanta. I hope this has been helpful, and if you're interested in finding out more about Atlanta's Koreatown, be sure to check out my other videos. I've done a full city vlog tour of Duluth, Swanee, Johns Creek, plus a lot more, and there's more to come. So feel free to subscribe, reach out to me if you are looking to make a move. You can call, text, message me, however you want. I'd love to be able to talk with you, and even if you just have a question about the area. See you on the next video.